Section 27 of Library of the World's Best Literature, Ancient and Modern, Volume 6. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Michelle Fry, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Library of the World's Best Literature, Ancient and Modern, Volume 6, by various authors. Section 27, Selected Poems of Elizabeth Barrett Browning, Part 2. Mother and Poet. On Laura Savio of Turin, a poetess and patriot whose sons were killed at Ancona and Gaeta. Dead! One of them shot by the sea in the east, and one of them shot in the west by the sea. Dead, both my boys. When you sit at the feast and are wanting a great song for Italy free, let none look at me. Yet I was a poetess only last year, and good at my art for a woman, men said. But this woman, this who is agonized here, the East Sea and West Sea rhyme on in her head forever instead. What art can a woman be good at? Oh, vain! What art is she good at, but hurting her breast with the milk teeth of babes and a smile at the pain? Ah, boys, how you hurt! You were strong as you pressed, and I proud by that test. What art's for a woman? To hold on her knees both darlings, to feel all their arms round her throat, cling, strangle a little, to sew by degrees and broider the long clothes and neat little coat, to dream and to dote, to teach them, it stings there. I made them indeed speak plain the word country. I taught them, no doubt, that a country's a thing men should die for at need. I prated of liberty, rights, and about the tyrant cast out. And when their eyes flashed, oh, my beautiful eyes, I exulted, nay, let them go forth at the wheels of the guns, and denied not. But then the surprise when one sits quite alone, then one weeps, then one kneels. God, how the house feels! At first happy news came, in gay letters, moiled with my kisses, of camp life and glory, and how they both loved me, and soon, coming home to be spoiled, in return would fan off every fly from my brow with their green laurel bough. There was triumph at Turin, Ancona was free, and someone came out of the cheers in the street with a face pale as stone to say something to me. My Guido was dead. I fell down at his feet while they cheered in the street. I bore it. Friends soothed me. My grief looked sublime as the ransom of Italy. One boy remained to be leaned on and walked with, recalling the time when the first grew immortal, while both of us strained to the height he had gained. And letters still came, shorter, sadder, more strong, written now but in one hand. I was not to faint. One loved me for two, would be with me ere long. And Viva Italia he died for, our saint, who forbids our complaint. My Nanny would add, he was safe, and aware of the presence that turned off the balls, was impressed it was Guido himself who knew what I could bear, and how 'twas impossible, quite dispossessed, to live on for the rest. On which, without pause, up the telegraph line swept smoothly the next news from Gaeta. Shot, tell his mother. Ah, ah, his, their mother, not mine. No voice says my mother again to me. What? You think Guido forgot? Are souls straight so happy that dizzy with heaven they drop earth's affections, conceive not of woe? I think not. Themselves were too lately forgiven through that love and that sorrow which reconciled so the above and below. O Christ of the 7 wounds, who look'st through the dark to the face of thy mother, consider, I pray, how we common mothers stand desolate. Mark, whose sons, not being Christ's, die with eyes turned away and no last word to say. Both boys dead? But that's out of nature. We all have been patriots, yet each house must always keep one. 'Twere imbecile hewing out roads to a wall, and when Italy's made, for what end is it done, if we have not a son? Ah, when Gaeta's taken, what then? When the fair wicked queen sits no more at her sport of the fireballs of death crashing souls out of men? When the guns of Cavalli with final retort have cut the game short? When Venice and Rome keep their new jubilee? When your flag takes all heaven for its white, green, and red? When you have your country from mountain to sea? When King Victor has Italy's crown on his head? And I have my dead? What then? Do not mock me. Ah, ring your bells low and burn your lights faintly. My country is there, above the star pricked by the last peak of snow. My Italy's there, with my brave civic pair to disfranchise despair. Forgive me. Some women bear children in strength and bite back the cry of their pain in self-scorn, but the birth-pangs of nations will wring us at length into wail such as this, and we sit on forlorn when the man-child is born. Dead. One of them shot by the sea in the east, and one of them shot in the west by the sea. Both my boys. If in keeping the feast you want a great song for your Italy free, let none look at me. A Court Lady. Her hair was tawny with gold, her eyes were purple with dark, her cheeks pale opal, burnt with a red and restless spark. Never was Lady of Milan nobler in name and in race, never was Lady of Italy fairer to see in the face. Never was lady on earth more true as woman and wife, larger in judgment and instinct, prouder in manners and life. She stood in the early morning and said to her maidens, "Bring that silken robe made ready to wear at the court of the king. Bring me the clasps of diamond, lucid clear of the mote. Clasp me the large at the waist, and clasp me the small at the throat. Diamonds to fasten the hair, and diamonds to fasten the sleeves. Laces to drop from their rays like a powder of snow from the eaves." Gorgeous, she entered the sunlight, which gathered her up in a flame, while straight in her open carriage she to the hospital came. In she went at the door, and gazing from end to end, "Many and low are the pallets, but each is the place of a friend." Up she passed through the wards, and stood at a young man's bed, bloody the band on his brow, and livid the droop of his head. "Art thou a Lombard, my brother? Happy art thou," she cried, and smiled like Italy on him. He dreamed in her face and died. Pale with his passing soul, she went on still to a second. He was a grave, hard man, whose years by dungeons were reckoned. Wounds in his body were sore, wounds in his life were sorer. "Art thou a Romagno?" Her eyes drove lightnings before her. Austrian and priest had joined to double and tighten the cord able to bind thee, O strong one, free by the stroke of a sword. Now be grave for the rest of us. using the life overcast to ripen our wine of the present too new in glooms of the past. Down she stepped to a pallet where lay a face like a girl's, young and pathetic with dying, a deep black hole in the curls. Art thou from Tuscany, brother? And seest thou, dreaming in pain, thy mother stand in the piazza, searching the list of the slain? Kind as a mother herself, she touched his cheeks with her hands. Blessed is she who has borne thee, although she should weep as she stands. On she passed to a Frenchman, his arm carried off by a ball. Kneeling, "Oh, more than my brother, how shall I thank thee for all?" Each of the heroes around us has fought for his land and line, but thou hast fought for a stranger in hate of a wrong not thine. Happy are all free peoples too strong to be dispossessed, but blessed are those among nations who dare to be strong for the rest. Ever she passed on her way and came to a couch where pined one with a face from Venetia, white with a hope out of mind. Long she stood and gazed, and twice she tried at the name, but 2 great crystal tears were all that faltered and came. Only a tear for Venice? She turned as in passion and loss, and stooped to his forehead and kissed it, as if she were kissing the cross. Faint with that strain of heart, she moved on then to another, stern and strong in his death. "And dost thou suffer, my brother?" Holding his hands in hers. "Out of the Piedmont lion cometh the sweetness of freedom, sweetest to live or to die on." Holding his cold, rough hands. "Well, oh well have you done in noble, noble Piedmont, who would not be noble alone." Back he fell while she spoke. She rose to her feet with a spring. "That was a Piedmontese, and this is the court of the king." The Prospect. Methinks we do as fretful children do, leaning their faces on the window pane, to sigh the glass dim with their own breath's stain, and shut the sky and landscape from their view. And thus, alas, since God the Maker drew a mystic separation twixt those twain, the life beyond us and our souls in pain, we miss the prospect which we are called unto, by grief we are fools to use. Be still and strong, O man, my brother, hold thy sobbing breath, and keep thy soul's large window pure from wrong, that, so as life's appointment issueth, thy vision may be clear to watch along the sunset, consummation lights of death. De Profundis. The face which, duly as the sun, rose up for me with life begun, to mark all bright hours of the day with daily love, is dimmed away, and yet my days go on, go on. The tongue which like a stream could run smooth music from the roughest stone, and every morning with good day make each day good, is hushed away, and yet my days go on, go on. The heart, which like a staff was one for mine to lean and rest upon, the strongest on the longest day, with steadfast love, is caught away, and yet my days go on, go on. The world goes whispering to its own, "This anguish pierces to the bone," and tender friends go sighing round, "What love can ever cure this wound?" My days go on, my days go on. The past rolls forward on the sun and makes all night. Oh, dreams begun not to be ended, ended bliss, and life that will not end in this. My days go on, my days go on. Breath freezes on my lips to moan, as one alone, once not alone. I sit and knock at nature's door, heart bare, heart hungry, very poor, whose desolated days go on. I knock and cry, undone, undone. Is there no help, no comfort, none? No gleaning in the wide wheat plains where others drive their loaded wains? My vacant days go on, go on. This nature, though the snows be down, thinks kindly of the bird in June. The little red hip on the tree is ripe for such. What is for me, whose days so winterly go on? No bird am I to sing in June, and dare not ask an equal boon. Good nests and berries red are nature's to give away to better creatures. And yet my days go on, go on. I ask less kindness to be done, only to loose these pilgrims shoon, too early worn and grimed, with sweet, cool, deathly touch to these tired feet, till days go out, which now go on. Only to lift the turf unmown from off the earth where it has grown, some cubit space, and say, Behold, creep in, poor heart, beneath that fold, forgetting how the days go on. A voice reproves me thereupon, more sweet than nature's, when the drone of bees is sweetest, and more deep than when the rivers overleap the shuddering pines and thunder on. God's voice, not nature's. Night and noon he sits upon the great white throne and listens for the creature's praise. What babble we of days and days? The day spring he whose days go on. He reigns above, he reigns alone. Systems burn out and leave his throne. Fair mists of seraphs melt and fall around him, changeless amid all. Ancient of days, whose days go on. He reigns below, he reigns alone, and having life in love foregone beneath the crown of sovereign thorns, he reigns the jealous God. Who mourns or rules with him while days go on? By anguish which made pale the sun, I hear him charge his saints, that none among the creatures anywhere blaspheme against him with despair, however darkly days go on. Take from my head the thorn wreath brown, no mortal grief deserves that crown. O supreme love, chief misery, the sharp regalia are for thee, whose days eternally go on. For us, whatever's undergone, thou knowest, willest what is done. Grief may be joy, misunderstood. Only the good discerns the good. I trust thee while my days go on. Whatever's lost, it first was won. We will not struggle nor impugn. Perhaps the cup was broken here, that heaven's new wine might show more clear. I praise thee while my days go on. I praise thee while my days go on. I love thee while my days go on. Through dark and dearth, through fire and frost, with emptied arms and treasure lost, I thank thee while my days go on. And having in thy life depth thrown being and suffering, which are one, as a child drops some pebble small down some deep well, and hears it fall smiling, so thy days go on. The cry of the human. There is no God, the foolish saith, but none there is no sorrow. And nature oft the cry of faith in bitter need will borrow. Eyes which the preacher could not school by wayside graves are raised, and lips say, God, be pitiful, who ne'er said, God be praised. Be pitiful, O God. The tempest stretches from the steep, the shadow of its coming. The beasts grow tame and near us creep, as help were in the human. Yet while the cloud wheels roll and grind, we spirits tremble under. The hills have echoes, but we find no answer for the thunder. Be pitiful, O God. The battle hurtles on the plains. Earth feels new scythes upon her. We reap our brothers for the wains and call the harvest honor. Draw face to face, front line to line, one image all inherit, then kill, curse on by that same sign, clay, clay, and spirit, spirit. Be pitiful, O God. We meet together at the feast, to private mirth betake us. We stare down in the wine cup, lest some vacant chair should shake us. We name delight, and pledge it round. It shall be ours tomorrow. God's seraphs, do your voices sound as sad in naming sorrow? Be pitiful, O God. We sit together with the skies, the steadfast skies above us. We look into each other's eyes, and how long will you love us? The eyes grow dim with prophecy, the voices low and breathless. Till death us part. O words, to be our best for love the deathless. Be pitiful, dear God. We tremble by the harmless bed of one loved and departed. Our tears drop on the lips that said last night, "Be stronger hearted." O God, to clasp those fingers close, and yet to feel so lonely, to see a light upon such brows which is the daylight only. Be pitiful, O God. The happy children come to us and look up in our faces. They ask us, was it thus and thus when we were in their places? We cannot speak. We see anew the hills we used to live in, and feel our mother's smile press through the kisses she is giving. Be pitiful, O God. We pray together at the kirk for mercy, mercy solely. Hands weary with the evil work, we lift them to the holy. The corpse is calm below our knee, its spirit bright before thee. Between them, worse than either, we, without the rest of glory. Be pitiful, O God. And soon all vision waxeth dull. Men whisper, he is dying. We cry no more, be pitiful. We have no strength for crying, no strength, no need. Then, soul of mine, look up in triumph rather. Lo, in the depth of God's divine, the Son adjures the Father. Be pitiful, O God. Romance of the Swan's Nest. Little Ellie sits alone mid the beeches of a meadow, by a stream side on the grass, and the trees are showering down doubles of their leaves in shadow on her shining hair and face. She has thrown her bonnet by, and her feet she has been dipping in the shallow water's flow. Now she holds them nakedly in her hands, all sleek and dripping, while she rocketh to and fro. Little Ellie sits alone, and the smile she softly uses fills the silence like a speech, while she thinks what shall be done, and the sweetest pleasure chooses for her future within reach. Little Ellie in her smile chooseth, I will have a lover riding on a steed of steeds. He shall love me without guile, and to him I will discover that swan's nest among the reeds. And the steed shall be red roan, and the lover shall be noble, with an eye that takes the breath. And the lute he plays upon shall strike ladies into trouble, as his sword strikes men to death. And the steed, it shall be shod all in silver, housed in azure, and the mane shall swim the wind. And the hoofs along the sod shall flash onward and keep measure, till the shepherds look behind. But my lover will not prize all the glory that he rides in when he gazes in my face. He will say, O love, thine eyes build the shrine my soul abides in, and I kneel here for thy grace. Then he shall kneel low, with the red roan steed anear him, which shall seem to understand, till I answer, Rise and go, for the world must love and fear him whom I gift with heart and hand. Then he will arise so pale, I shall feel my own lips tremble with a yes I must not say. Nathless maiden brave, farewell, I will utter, and dissemble, light tomorrow with today. Then he'll ride among the hills to the wide world, past the river, there to put away all wrong, to make straight distorted wills, and to empty the broad quiver which the wicked bear along. 3 times shall a young foot-page swim the stream and climb the mountain, and kneel down beside my feet. Lo, my master sends this gage, lady, for thy pity's counting. What wilt thou exchange for it? And the first time I will send a white rosebud for the guerdon, and the second time a glove. But the third time I may bend from my pride and answer, pardon, if he come to take my love. Then the foot-page will run, then my lover will ride faster, till he kneeleth at my knee. I am a duke's eldest son, 1,000 serfs do call me master, but, O love, I love but thee. He will kiss me on the mouth then, and lead me as a lover through the crowds that praise his deeds, and when soul-tied by one troth, unto him I will discover that swan's nest among the reeds. Little Ellie, with her smile not yet ended, rose up gaily, tied the bonnet, donned the shoe, and went homeward round a mile, just to see, as she did daily, what more eggs were with the 2. Pushing through the elm-tree copse winding by the stream, light-hearted, where the osier pathway leads, past the boughs she stoops and stops. Lo, the wild swan had deserted, and a rat had gnawed the reeds. Ellie went home sad and slow. If she found the lover ever with his red-roan steed of steeds, sooth I know not. But I know she could never show him, never, that swan's nest among the reeds. The best thing in the world. What's the best thing in the world? June rose by May dew impearled. Sweet south wind, that means no rain. Truth, not cruel to a friend. Pleasure, not in haste to end. Beauty, not self-decked and curled till its pride is overplain. Light that never makes you wink. Memory that gives no pain. Love when so you're loved again. What's the best thing in the world? Something out of it, I think. Sonnets from the Portuguese. Unlike are we, unlike, O princely heart, unlike our uses and our destinies. Our ministering 2 angels look surprise on one another as they strike athwart their wings in passing. Thou, bethink thee, art a guest for queens to social pageantries, with gages from 100 brighter eyes than tears even can make mine, to play thy part of chief musician. What hast thou to do with looking from the lattice lights at me, a poor, tired, wandering singer, singing through the dark and leaning up a cypress tree? The chrism is on thine head, on mine the dew, and death must dig the level where these agree. Thou hast thy calling to some palace floor, most gracious singer of high poems, where the dancers will break footing from the care of watching up thy pregnant lips for more. And dost thou lift this house's latch, too poor for hand of thine? And canst thou think and bear to let thy music drop here, unaware, in folds of golden fullness at my door? Look up and see the casement broken in, the bats and owlets builders in the roof, my cricket chirps against thy mandolin. Hush! Call no echo up in further proof of desolation. There's a voice within that weeps as thou must sing, alone, aloof. What can I give thee back, O liberal and princely giver, who hast brought the gold and purple of thine heart, unstained, untold, and laid them on the outside of the wall for such as I to take or leave withal, in unexpected largesse? Am I cold, ungrateful, that for these most manifold high gifts I render nothing back at all? Not so, not cold, but very poor instead. Ask God, who knows, for frequent tears have run the colours from my life, and left so dead and pale a stuff it were not fitly done to give the same as pillow to thy head. Go farther, let it serve to trample on. If thou must love me, let it be for naught except for love's sake only. Do not say, I love her for her smile, her look, her way of speaking gently, for a trick of thought that falls in well with mine, and certes brought a sense of pleasant ease on such a day. For these things in themselves, beloved, may be changed, or change for thee, and love so wrought may be unwrought so. Neither love me for thine own dear pities wiping my cheeks dry. A creature might forget to weep who bore thy comfort long, and lose thy love thereby. But love me for love's sake, that evermore thou mayst love on through love's eternity. First time he kissed me, he but only kissed the fingers of this hand wherewith I write. And ever since it grew more clean and white, slow to world greetings, quick with its "oh" list when the angels speak. A ring of amethyst I could not wear here plainer to my sight than that first kiss. The second passed in height the first, and sought the forehead, and half missed, half falling on the hair. Oh, beyond meed! That was the chrism of love, whose love's own crown with sanctifying sweetness did precede. The third upon my lips was folded down in perfect purple state. Since when, indeed, I have been proud and said, my love, my own. I lived with visions for my company, instead of men and women, years ago, and found them gentle mates, nor thought to know a sweeter music than they played for me. But soon their trailing purple was not free of this world's dust. Their lutes did silent grow, and I myself grew faint and blind below their vanishing eyes. Then thou didst come, to be, beloved, what they seemed. Their shining fronts, their songs, their splendors, better yet the same as river water hollowed into fonts, met in thee, and from out thee overcame my soul with satisfaction of all wants, because God's gifts put man's best dreams to shame. Beloved, my beloved, when I think that thou wast in the world a year ago, what time I sat alone here in the snow, and saw no footprint, heard the silence sink no moment at thy voice, but link by link went counting all my chains, as if that so they never could fall off at any blow struck by thy possible hand. Why, thus I drink of life's great cup of wonder. Wonderful, never to feel thee thrill the day or night with personal act or speech, nor ever cull some prescience of thee with the blossoms white thou sawest growing? Atheists are as dull, who cannot guess God's presence out of sight. Because thou hast the power and ownst the grace to look through and behind this mask of me, against which years have beat thus blanchingly with their reins, and behold my soul's true face, the dim and weary witness of life's race. Because thou hast the faith and love to see, through that same soul's distracting lethargy, the patient angel waiting for his place in the new heavens. Because nor sin, nor woe, nor God's infliction, nor death's neighborhood, nor all which others viewing turn to go, nor all which makes me tired of all self-viewed, nothing repels thee. Dearest, Teach me so to pour out gratitude as thou dost good. I thank all who have loved me in their hearts with thanks and love from mine. Deep thanks to all who paused a little near the prison wall to hear my music in its louder parts, ere they went onward, each one to the mart's or temple's occupation beyond call. But thou, who in my voices sink and fall, when the sob took it, thy divinest art's own instrument didst drop down at thy foot to hearken what I said between my tears. Instruct me how to thank thee, oh, to shoot my soul's full meaning into future years, that they should lend it utterance and salute love that endures with life that disappears. How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. I love thee to the depth and breadth and height my soul can reach when feeling out of sight for the ends of being and ideal grace. I love thee to the level of every day's most quiet need, by sun and candlelight. I love thee freely as men strive for right. I love thee purely as they turn from praise. I love thee with the passion put to use in my old griefs and with my childhood's faith. I love thee with a love I seemed to lose with my lost saints. I love thee with the breath, smiles, tears of all my life. And if God choose, I shall but love thee better after death. A false step. Sweet, thou hast trod on a heart. Pass. There's a world full of men, and women as fair as thou art must do such things now and then. Thou only hast stepped unaware. Malice not one can impute. And why should a heart have been there in the way of a fair woman's foot? It was not a stone that could trip, nor was it a thorn that could rend. Put up thy proud underlip. 'Twas merely the heart of a friend. And yet, peradventure, one day, thou, sitting alone at the glass, remarking the bloom gone away where the smile in its dimplement was, and seeking around thee in vain, from hundreds who flattered before, such a word as, "Oh, not in the main do I hold thee less precious, but more," thou'lt sigh, very like, on thy part. Of all I have known or can know, I wish I had only that heart I trod upon ages ago. A child's thought of God. They say that God lives very high, but if you look above the pines, you cannot see our God. And why? And if you dig down in the mines, you never see him in the gold, though from him all that's glory shines. God is so good, he wears a fold of heaven and earth across his face, like secrets kept, for love untold. But still I feel that his embrace slides down by thrills, through all things made, through sight and sound of every place. As if my tender mother laid on my shut lids her kisses' pressure, half waking me at night, and said, "Who kissed you through the dark, dear guesser?" Cheerfulness taught by reason. I think we are too ready with complaint in this fair world of gods. Had we no hope indeed beyond the zenith and the slope of yon gray bank of sky, we might be faint to muse upon eternity's constraint round our aspirant souls. But since the scope must widen early, it is well to droop for a few days, consumed in loss and taint. O pusillanimous heart, be comforted, and like a cheerful traveller take the road, singing beside the hedge. What if the bread be bitter in thine inn, and thou unshod to meet the flints? At least it may be said, "Because the way is short, I thank thee, God." End of section 27.